Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. Gonna hit a button here just to make sure. Want to make sure that I have hammered on that try to fix the voice problems button. We're heading into our afternoon programming stream here. Hey there, gotcha. Welcome to the broadcast. We're just about to check in with the kitties. We do have Sky and Ember already snuggled up over there across the keyboard. We have Sherbet over on the pillow, and Sammy is on the shelf. Looks like Sherbet moving to Sammy's pillow has displaced her for now. Well, last time on the coding stream... And hello there. Last time on the coding stream, we verified our whole mob spawning pattern. I think it's still functional. We're spawning about 10 things a second. Which does mean they're overlapping based on some other stuff, but we also have them being removed after 10 seconds. So we can see most of them are popping before they get in. But we can also see, how they sort of glance off of each other when they get close. And that's a behavior that we want to maintain so that the sprites do not overlap with each other. Now, I think we may adjust their hitboxes in similar further in the future, but that will kind of mess with the collision detection, so we'll leave that alone for now. The jostling logic. Let's put it over here. But yeah. So that's where we got last time. So now we need to implement the actual tracking. So we don't want... We're just going to comment a bunch of stuff for now. We'll go hunting it later. So we need to convert test mob here into the actual mob body template. This stuff, sans a lot of the settings that we've put on it, is going to be our default now. So we go over here to test mob scene and its corresponding... we don't actually need any of the content in it. So we can duplicate the test mob here. Hey there, Sonic. Can't really argue as far as the concept of a Sonic game. The original Sonic games tended to get it right. I do not fault them for exploring new things, but like many IPs like that, keeping the spirit of the core concept is important. Making sure that that is in some way represented and represented well enough. And with Sonic games, you expect to go fast. I think there have been some 3D ones that did it pretty well. But, if you had to take it as a percentage likelihood of them doing the moving fast logic well, I wouldn't put good odds on a arbitrary new Sonic game sticking the landing. Okay, so we've got our new test mob. Oh, hey there, Levi. Good to see you again, and you are now at 5 months. 5 months. Nice. How have you been? Levi at the double cat icon yet? I'll have to check when those cycle. They can take a little bit. Oof. They got you running around. Kind of a regional manager kind of vibe. Okay, so we've got a new mob body. And we're going to need a new template concept as well. So we're going to move this down. Store those. So go into our mob body scene. We have its body, we have its ray casts. Oh, that's not right. Oh, this nonsense. There we go. So we're going to rename that. Shape. Sprite. We don't really care what these are called because they're only interacted with as part of the collection. We'll be moving this movement logic outside of it. We are going to keep this here for now. Okay, so we've got that. Its shape should be like this. Sprite. Reset that. We'll look at our mob template here. It has a mob body, which is a packed scene. It is one of those. It has a pool type, and it has modulation. Within a given mob body, so 2 warnings on this one is collision shapes by themselves do nothing. That's okay. That's how it's supposed to function. I'll just keep an eye on it, Levi. Upward mobility as far as, compensation can be very good, though. I can't speak to whether your company is the sort that would dangle that carrot in order to see how much more you're willing to do without the promotion. It's not an uncommon pattern. I hope it's not for you. I do hope that you do get that the level of responsibility to compensation that you're looking for. Ponder. Okay. So we've got our mob body. We've still got our template. That's the way to do it. Never Never accept increased responsibility without increased compensation. That is, as they say, how they get you. People will have you think, well, you've got to prove yourself before you move up. But that is code for let's see if we can get you to do more without us having to pay you more. Okay. So then each thing that inherits would then go in and add the sprite, and it would add a shape to the collision. Okay. So then we want to go into blobs. If you look at this, it has... we want to look at the blob body here. Go over to this one, and we need to detach the script. We need to attach a script. And it is a class name body. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that. But we definitely have some problems here. Okay. There are elements in here that we haven't defined yet. Go into our mob body. Unready. Our body as a collision shape is equal to $sign body. We are going to get a lot of errors as we do this portion, because this is where we are ripping up the floorboards again. We're doing a heavy refactor on how physics works. Doesn't have a sprite 2, doesn't have a collision shape. Yeah, this is where it was going wrong, is when I made the new mob body, there was some overlap. It's something that I'm not really fond of in the way that... no, that wasn't... It's some things can be left open, and it doesn't handle that transition over very well. Ready. Our sprite as a animated sprite 2D is equal to $sprite. We don't like to do this. This is not good. We can change this. Freedom, huh? An ambitious and overbroad name you have chosen. We really want to do that here. We could change the script to have an export so that we could go into a given mob body and set that. Because body, sprite, that kind of thing is always there. Yeah, let's do an export. Doesn't need to change there, though. We're going to do on ready. We're going to see if that works. It's supposed to work. Let's see. At on ready. Cats. A equal to $sign Waycast. Okay. In theory, what this will do is when a mob body is initially created and instantiated, these should get populated. But the timing of this can be flaky. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. We might have to make these exports and manually populate them in the inspector that the body is this object itself. The sprite is this part of the body, that kind of thing. So we have that. If we look back over at our blob body is defined. Sprite.flip h. It might not have a velocity how I want it to. We'll see. That'll null out if that's the case. But given that it is a 2D object, it may have that. Hey there, One Piece. This will have to change because we don't want remove mob working that way, but we don't have the managing entity yet. Modulation color. Feel free. There is a board on Discord for that, and there is a hashtag on Twitter for that. Okay, that should work. Yeah, this used to be mob body. We should export these, I think. Hey there, Adam. Welcome. These aren't character body 2Ds anymore. They are shapes. They still have sprites in their raycasts. If I don't have Discord and Twitter, then I mean, it depends on where you're putting it. You know, give proper credit, otherwise. Sure. I was just indicating that if you were to use the local Discord and or Twitter, that there are hashtags and boards where that kind of thing would go, but otherwise, wherever you're posting art. Making sure I'm getting this correct here. This is the body, the type, and the color are part of the template. And the prior mob body also has these two values, but they don't need to be exported because that's part of the template. I do recall you swinging through, Copper. Working on our refactor here. We're at a stage where everything is going to be broken in the code for a little bit, so make sure that I zoom this in a little bit for the mobile folks. So last time what we did is we made it so that the monsters are not individual collision zones. They're not physics objects themselves. They are represented by a code entity that is like the logic of the mob, but also their interaction with the world is now part of a larger scale entity, a single larger scale entity, such that collision happens all at once with it. Now, we'll need to make sure that it is happening all at once, but it lets us have, I think, a good 600 things on the screen as far as the mob movement without there being a performance cost. And that many things on the screen is not really... That's outside of our plausible use case. So if it drops down below 30 frames a second when we're in that, we can always optimize more later. But if we can get 500 plus on screen at 60 frames a second, it's going well. And we could potentially speed that up even more by just capping it at 30. Since we're not dealing with a game that needs that, super high frames per second. Okay, so then mob templates have the body's packed scene, and then the elements to set that to. Okay, so that still works. So then if we look at our blob scene, it needs to have its sprite frames loaded. And we're going to go in here. It's going to be back at 6 frames a second. We're going to load those from our art assets. Is 16 wide and 1 tall. No. 16 by 16. Yes. Cross. We load all those in. We have our frames. We have set it to auto animate. Okay, so we have that. And it's using the first animation. That's correct. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 0 through 5. That is correct. That is correct. We look at... Save that. Don't know what that problem is. We'll get there when we get there. Now we're going to go into its shape. We add a shape. We are going to say it is a rectangle. I don't know. I shouldn't be locked. Hmm. think the body would actually be rendering properly here, but it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock the body and see if this will work. No, it's grabbing the whole thing. How we do this? How we do this? We lock the sprite. No, it's still grabbing the sprite. I don't want it to grab the sprite. Stupid visual interfaces. Fine, fine. Hide the sprite. Why is it grabbing everything at once? It's not supposed to. Okay, I see what's going on now. I do. So the problem is this shape that we are editing is being treated as the body itself as we mess with it. So we need to be cognizant of that. Oh, it's terrible how this has to be edited. How are we going to do this cleanly? Because we don't want this shape to do this. We don't want it to behave that way. Because we need to be able to move this shape independently, the actual shape. Same with all the ray casts and the like. Can I... Rectangle shape is a data structure. This is integral to our change here. I don't want to have to do circle for everything. Hey there, monk. We'll still change it. Circle for everything would be a hassle. We can resort to that. But it would be nice to be able to have collision zones that allow the mob to be in front without it colliding, you know? That the base of the blob is what collides, not the whole sphere of the blob bouncing. But worst case, we will do that to mitigate the problem of that this is showing us. Let's go back up to our mob body here. Yeah, the shape is going to encompass the whole thing. We have to have the shape encompass the whole thing because the shape needs to be a direct child of the collision area that we're making. So, for the sake of sanity, I think the shape has to be a circle. Where exactly the circle will end up isn't the problem. Like, it's not really our problem, you know? But we'll give it one more try. We'll give it one more try to see if I can suss out how to do this. It's you. It's not one-way collision. It's definitely not true. This is pretty much what we have to deal with here. Okay, when we're messing with the visual... welcome, Wolf. When we're messing with the visual, it does displace it. So we're going to move up. Okay, but that its transform will still be a problem. Yosef, we're making a game. We're rewriting our physics logic at the moment. So we are attempting to shuffle things around. Okay. If we can move the whole thing. That's not really our problem here. Okay, so let's get the body lined up how we want it to be. Look at the sprite. Can we get... We can't really get anything about its transformation. It's not 100 wide. It's only like 50 wide. So it looks like we're scaling up by 6. So it should be 96 units across, which means it's 48 on each side. So what if we go into our body and we say it is 96 wide? That's a little bigger. Okay, that's right though. It's only 90 wide. Gonna make sure its transform is at 0, 0. .96 isn't right. No, it's correct. 16 by 16. It's 96. And then we're like 1 in on both sides. Oh, okay. So that should be 12 in. So that's like 84. There we go. Then we're halfway up. We don't want to scale up the main body. Like if we scale this up, it'll double scale the sprite. That is one of my cats, Yosef. Let's do a kitty cat check while we're mentioning that. We have still visible 4 of 5. We have Sky and Ember across from the keyboard, Sammy on the shelf, and Sherbet on the pillow. Mason is not visible. He is either on the bed where the pillow is, or like above the pillow, or he is kind of down from the pillow. Pat security cam array here. Okay. We look at our blob sprite. A sprite. Thought I had a sprite still loaded. There it is. Blobs. Okay. So if we mask this, it is 12 by 8. Quite line up. In that case, it should be more of like a Yusuf, isn't it? Okay. I try to pronounce them correctly. Okay, if it's only 12, though, that should be 72. That's too narrow. That's one too narrow. Looks like it's farther than it is. Oh, that's right. That's right. Because we're looking at the widest the blob can be, which is 14, which is the 84, and the tallest that it can be. We don't want to go jumping tall. We want to go standing native tall here. The tallest it can be. That. Let's actually do this. So it's 14 by 7. So that's our 84 by 42. And that means it will be 24 down. Not quite. It's weird. Oh, 21. Then the sprite we can raise up. Like that. Yeah, same thing. Hey there, Zell. Welcome back. We are now transitioning our mob templates over to the new model. See the inherited structure here. Okay. Yes. We are spot on to the pixels. The hitbox of the blob will be its hitbox when it is squished. Again, blobs are placeholders, but that's what we're working with for the time being. All right, so we have our default mob body. We don't have our projectiles yet, but the projectiles can come after. Extends mob body. So if we look at the monster blob body, which is still associated with the blob body here, we have these interfaces still. We shouldn't actually need this. We'll revisit it. We're going to do pass on all this for now. This is going to have to change. This is going to have to change substantially here. Yeah, people flow in and out of the short form streams pretty steadily, Yusuf. We have a couple of folks over in the wide format stream. I generally don't keep track of the numbers. Okay. So the sprite will flip if the body's velocity changes. I don't know how well that will work, but we'll see. Okay, so we have our blob body. The templates should be the same. Where we set them accordingly by saying, like, okay, this is its body. Then its type and the color. Mob pool type may cease to be relevant. But we may still need it to determine which collision entity it goes into and potentially which factory we associate it with. Okay, so that's been converted over. That's what we're heading into now, Zell. We just got the body cut over. Now, the spawner is now going to be noticeably different. Well, should be noticeably different. So we still make our array of mob bodies. Well, thank you, Yusuf. My channel does have a catalog of all the lives, so you can catch them there. Otherwise, I do 2 streams a day right now, noon and 4 p.m. U.S. Central Time. If you're referring, Zell, to the memory leak, I think I know what it is. Here. We will... Gotta get rid of you now. We'll just close this. Discard it. So inside a movement, we have a series of movement templates that are generated as an actual array of them. I don't think we want it that way. What I think we want is that this be a reference to a child of the node. If we look, where is it hiding? This folder tree is going to kill me one of these times. Should be actions, no, that, spawner behaviors, movement. It should not be spawner behaviors. It should be something else. Anyhow, so what we should be making, movement is a node 2D. It doesn't need to be. It should just be a node. Because it doesn't actually move or anything like that. We're going to make you a node, just so we remember. The tricky one, though, is a movement template. It's a node as well. So the movement template should, or I'm sorry, the movement shouldn't have movement templates as parts of an array populated inside it. They should be a child of a node inside of it, or just children of it. But we need to make sure that we maintain the order of them in that scenario. Because if it happens that way, if we set it up that way, then we can be sure that they're cleaned up. I think what was happening is these are all scenes. Movement templates are scenes. They're that way so that we can treat them as packed scenes. We can load them into these the spawner templates and say that it spawns things that move like this. May have to move that over to mobs as well, but anyway. They're on spawners for a reason right now. Okay. I think this was our problem. This is an array of scenes. And since these scenes are not attached to a node, when the mob that contained the movements was removed, the old mobs, the projectiles, little wind-up mice, the node tree of it was freed. It went through each one. But when this ended up getting freed, these scenes just stuck around. So these are the things that were being orphaned. I feel really confident of that. I haven't proved it yet. But I think that's our issue. So we'll see from there. And we will do that after a quick break. First break tends to be a little sooner than normal. And the later ones tend to be a little later most of the time. But we'll be right back. If you like what you're seeing so far, remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you see more content like this. Settling back in, we'll be starting up in just a moment. Okay. So if we go into movement, I think we want to make this a scene doesn't actually need to be a scene. None of these need to actually have scene bodies. Because if they extend a movement template, and a movement template is a node here, then they should be able to be packed scenes, right? No, they can't. This is the only way for it to be a packed scene. It has to be an actual scene. Like, there's nothing in it. All they exist to do is house this. Movement doesn't need to do this because it's not a scene in and of itself. Okay. Um, let's give this camera a smack again here. Camera 1 has a habit of misbehaving. Someday I'll replace it. See if we can find somebody. Oh, there it is. At least it's able to function. I think the movement template speed should be moved within the movement template. That's right, Tass. Camera array has to have a troublemaker. Same with these target objects. I wonder if these get orphaned. I expect the code objects actually get cleaned up properly. It's just the fact that the node objects, these scenes, are not attached. So they're not getting their release called on them. Because this is a loosely typed language, if I were to put 0 here, it treats it as an integer. I need that 0.0 to make sure that I don't get anything that I want to treat as a float treated as an integer. So despite, like, say speed is a float, if it gets divided by 3 with no decimal place, it treats it as if I am doing integer division, and it will truncate it. Which is annoying. Now, I could do 3 as float, but that's kind of the same thing. Anywho. If we do that, such that the movement template has speed to it, then I don't have to worry about actually having this. We'll just graft it into the movement template object. So we go into our spawner, we have mob bodies. We instantiate each mob body. We're going to try to get it to work inside this, and then it will graft it into that object. Then we'll go in, we'll rip up that part of it again, update it so that the next thing gets called properly, so that we can do some incremental testing here. I don't want to do the entire architecture and have it fall down on my head and have to riffle through all the different broken pieces. Come on, camera 1, work with me. Type, body to move. I don't know if this will actually work, but we'll try it. Right, Tass, right. Connect the collision happened to the movement object. Again, I don't know that this will be necessary, because if each step that the things are moving, I could do a master collision check and say, is anything touching a monster each time? which would also mean that we could limit how much damage per unit time the player takes without having to do kind of iframes on them. We'll get to that later. So we create a movement template, which is a node. We instantiate it, and we put it in the array. This is, I think, where we have one of our problems. So first we can say instantiated movement template speed as a speed variable equal to movement modifier speed. Should be able to do that. I didn't think I need to export them to expose them. So we don't need that. Then I think the order that I attach them should be what we're looking for. Hello, Sammy. Hello. Let's go into our movement object here. Ember only tolerates Sky doing that. Any other cat, she would have backed off by now. And Sky sometimes gets a little too rough. Like, he'll start being really antagonistic towards her, and she'll still just run away from him then. Ember generally doesn't fight. Sky has tried to do that to Sammy, and Sammy has just smacked him for it. But yeah, Sky is the only one she'll let do that. So remove this. Except we're going to remove this. We're going to attempt... Yeah, they're the remaining old guards. Sky is my oldest cat yet. And for Ember, at the time she was adopted, it was Tom and Sky. Tom, Sky, Rorschach, and Weasley when she was adopted. So Sky is kind of the oldest cat that she remembers. The one that... one of the ones that greeted her. The others are newcomers. She is older than them, and Ember is less tolerant of newcomers. So I suspect that's what's going on right now. Yeah, I acknowledge you, Sammy. I do. Sammy has proceeded over to my lap. Don't think we need to export movement templates. Don't think we actually need to export body to move. We'll see if I do. I didn't think I did. Same with target. I don't want to need to use movement templates. So if we make this a scene, since it is attached, we can do... We'll extend node, and it will be a movement. will attach that one. Hey there, Yoki. Welcome. We're doing some refactoring. Movement, and it will have a child node called movement templates. Oh, it's a node called movement templates. So then at onReady our movement templates as node is equal to $sign movement templates. Rid of you. This will break a lot of things, but that's okay. Children. That's movement template. Oh. Trying to remember the syntax for this. I think maybe this. Yeah. There we go. The fact that this colon operator is contextual is kind of annoying. So here it means movement template, the variable is a movement template type. Here it means begin the for loop. You don't need speed. We're going to need to change a lot of that stuff. So we got into movement template. And its move does not need speed. It just needs delta. Which will break all of the movement templates. But that's okay for now. Template in movement templates. Have the movement template. We tell it to move. Children. But I changed movement template. All right. Eject. Reload. We're forcibly reloading it because, yeah, all kinds of parse errors. Yeah, it's fine with this now because the parent object changed. Now we go into our movement templates here. This problem where we have speed. This problem where we have speed. We have changed the inherited interface, so it hates everything that we've done to it and won't parse properly. Line. Layer doesn't have a move function. Random direction doesn't have a move function, nor does random mob. Okay, so then we're going to reload it again just to be sure. I don't, Foxo. I am coding in GD script here. Projectile mouse body. Oh, yeah, that thing is entirely wrong. That's okay, though. We don't need it. At the moment. GD script is the scripting language that is the default language for the Godot engine, which is what we are coding in here. It is a loosely typed language that can be hard typed if you make it that way. You just have to know the syntax for it. So the hope is that add children is going to add them in order. We'll find out if that's the case. If it adds them in order, then we're okay. I hate making that kind of assumption, but it's the same as array.append, so. Here's hoping, Fox. We're learning as we go. Let's head back to I'm aware of you, Sammy. I am. Yeah. Sammy's very gently yelling at me at the moment. And you are not giving me proper attention. So she's getting some intensive chin scratches at the moment. So this whole part right here can't be how it works. Our body to move is a mob body. I don't know if it will actually have a velocity anymore, though. It'd be weird if it did. Because a shape doesn't intrinsically have a velocity. Let's double check here. I mean, it is a Node 2D, but Node 2D doesn't have that necessarily. Tell me more. It has a position, but no velocity. Okay, I suspect that's going to air out once we get to it, but let's continue. Close our documents. We go into our spawner. Connect collision happened. We create count of them. We add the movement modifiers. We add the movement templates. We just did that. Child. Instantiated movement template. Hey there, Connor. Welcome. Get rid of this because that's not how we're doing it no more. Okay, we add this to the array just for the purposes of adding it to the array. Connor, what we are doing right now is we are refactoring our spawning logic to account for part of our new physics system. We need to change what the global nodes currently accept. We're going to change the global nodes entirely very shortly. But instead of add mob going in and saying it's going to add it to an arbitrary node, we need global nodes to have the collision zone as what it's targeting. Okay, and we do this to prep for position changes. I hope we don't actually have to do this, but this rest of it here, because oh no, we do have to do this song and dance yet. This is so all of the projectiles have the same target if they're spawned in the same group. If I have 3 projectiles and they're all spawned in the same group, they will all share the same initial targeting and direction kind of stuff. If they are spawned as different groups, then each of them would have its own target and direction information. This is logic for varying how they spawn. We might have to go into mob body and have its sort of its collision zone as far as how we would oscillate them like this, so that if I spawn them, they get jiggled out of the way an appropriate distance. Randomize the rotation, or at least we rotate it. We're just gonna put 48 here, so that we always move them at least half a square away. That should give an opportunity for the collision arrows to kick in. Slices, create mob body. Yes. Okay. We have our spawner. Now we're going to go to global nodes, and we're going to redefine one of its properties. Monster. Let's add another one. put var first as an area 2D. That technically doesn't matter. So we're going to go into our game object then. We're able to set these in here. Okay. Floor, survival area. Monster pool isn't a thing anymore. Suspect we have a parse error somewhere in here. Sorry, monster pool shouldn't be a thing. Where did I put that? Oh, yeah, that's why. So is equal to monster collision zone. So when the game object initializes, it initializes all of the kind of global dealies here. Okay, so we have monster collision zone. Monster collision when it's going to monster bullet. Still got player bullet pool. How's the game going? What we're doing is we're refactoring the physics handling. What we have to do is we're fundamentally changing how monster collision happens. This is irrelevant. Is irrelevant. It's a temporary. We'll keep that naming dictionary around. Sadly, I can't use this in templates. I wish I could use that in templates. Can we though? It doesn't need to be exported. I was under the mistaken impression doing some of this stuff that export was essentially the equivalent of declaring it public. That is not the case. If it's part, it's public. Though putting the underscore in front of it may make it not public, but that's not what I observed. We'll have to see, but we'll go from there. I have two streams going for this. I have a tall format, which you're looking at right now. I have a widescreen format. And then I also have a Twitch stream, which is showing the wide stream as well. so that folks can watch how they want. Okay, so we're going to add it to that pool node. And if we say to remove a mob, we're going to queue it to be freed. That should technically work. So the blob spawner is still there. So if I go into the game, add log, self-time, add child. Okay, what explodes? Okay, this is getting instantiated. Hey there, Dana. Hasn't been too long. You were on yesterday's stream, weren't you? Why do we need a mouse projectile? I didn't think we were spawning them. Let me check my game object here. Yeah, we're not spawning the mouse. Alright, well, let's fix it. Toggle comment. Okay. Instantiate. Okay, .new is not... Okay, we need to add it to the tree first before we mess with its insides like that. So... that. That. That's still not. Set index movement. The type node movement. Body. Oh. We are continuing our refactor of our physics logic. Okay, how we do? How we do? Okay, so here's our problem. Movement templates does not exist until movement is ready. And it's not ready until we're done with this function, I think. We look at movement. Yeah, movement templates is on ready, but it hasn't been readied yet. Coding can be related to professions and pastimes. It can be it's good all around. Underscore ready. Yes. Thought so. We append the movement, but it's not part of the tree yet. Pool node doesn't have add child. Oh. Pool type get pool node. Monster collision zone. Go back up to the game. Monster collision zone needs to be defined. Oop. Okay, we get through the on ready. Movement templates should not be null because ready just got called. Right there, on ready. It is a node. It's called movement templates. Yeah. About will that work? Nope. It still hasn't been instantiated yet. Never enough coding, King. HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and Python. That covers a lot of ground. This is nil at that point, but that should not be the case because movement has been instantiated. So if we look at, is it not? That's two of my cats, Connor. The darker gray and white one is Sky, and the lighter one is Ember. But that camera is jammed because actually Ember is over here. Let's I. There we go. Camera one is not reliable. Those movement templates not getting set. Oh, it had better not be this. It had better not be the quotation marks. Stream time is generally nap time. I mean, they're cats. Almost every moment of the day is nap time. We can see 4 of them right now. I don't know where Sammy has gotten off to, but let's see. We have Sky where he was earlier. He's the big fluff ball. Then we have Mason on the pillow, Ember on one of the heating pads, and Sherbet is looking out the window. Movement templates is still null. Remote. Body. Body has a node, but that node has no children to it. Why does this node have no children? Movement templates. Yeah, that's a member variable that has nothing in it. Hey there, Jordan. How are we gonna do this? So we could go back to having an array. We're working on our game, Jordan. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to figure out a way to structure these objects so that the movement templates here can be part of the tree. This acts as like a collection. But at the moment, it won't. Sort of. We're making a bullet heaven style game. As soon as this is called, this should happen. this should happen. How about this? Oh. So we know we're getting into this. We go here. So we added the mob body is part of. It's something that you learn as you go. If you don't practice it, if you don't work on it, then you don't get a grasp for how it works. Mob body. Attach the mob body. It gets instantiated. So go into... We know mob body exists because we're able to set movement. And we're creating a movement node, but maybe it's not being instantiated. Well, instead of this, or science, okay. We need a way to ensure that the movement object... Well, no, we know that it's getting instantiated. When we add child to it, that should be when the movement object comes into existence. It gets readied. No idea, King. No idea yet. It just has a project name at the moment. The project's name is Nyanite Survivors, just to reference some of the images that I'm using and the sort of game that repopularized this genre. Or popularized it. I don't know if there was a precursor that is really tangible. Can't find it. This is not showing itself. sure. All right, Jordan. Thanks for swinging through. Okay, so what's going wrong? What's going wrong? It's a very versatile name. How about mob body? It has a series of on-readies. That's not right. Yeah. My body is already... Okay, fundamentally, this is not working. This is not working fundamentally. The matter is our movement template structure. We may need to come up with this should have created it. So let's go here. So we look at this is our mob template. So it's interesting. It's living in game. Okay, it's showing up under there. So we just instantiated it. No, okay, this is the spawner. That's the spawner. None, Connor. This is my first one. That's a spawner. It's our mob body. Okay, nothing has come into existence on it. Okay. It's been instantiated, but nothing exists in it yet. How are we going to work around this? Here's hoping, Connor. Here's hoping. We could have a factory for the movement object. We could fully populate the movement object as a node. Like, movement templates could be created and attached to movement as a whole. And then the onReady can happen. We could add them to a like an export on it. Well, it's not an export. We could add them into an array, and then onReady, it populates itself. That seems to be a needless mess. Yeah, it's this child structure that's wrecking us here. What if Okay. All right. I think in this, what we're probably going to need is more factory objects. Uh, movement templates need a factory. And I don't even think these need to be factories. I could just have them defined with nearby. So, like, for example, this is tangential, but mob factory could just be defined alongside mobs because it's going to be a singleton. It never gets instantiated. Everything's just part of the class. So I shouldn't need an instance. Yeah. We'll work with that. Because I can use the factories as literal factories. And that all they do is I pass it something. And it spits out an object for me. Mob bodies. We're iterating over the mob bodies. Children. Movement template. Let's move the template. And target to copy is equal to template. Seems needless. Okay. Okay. For each okay. First movement template is each one in this one. The target to copy is first movement template to get target. I think I've had this conversation with folks before, Connor. I believe that is a entity in a particular cultural folklore. And I know it has become popular in urban legends in some circles. It is a... You get into weird territory when you turn things in some folklore, traditions, religions into cryptids. Especially ones that can be associated with kind of heavy topics. It is something that some companies have run afoul with, in that they will turn like actively worshipped deities into a monster kind of thing, like a monster that you encounter and pummel in a game. Okay, get children will get us an array of nodes. You're touching on what I was just mentioning. You're turning a folklore creature into a cryptid, and that can lead to that can put it in weird territory. It can put it in distasteful territory. It doesn't mean they cannot be referred to. It doesn't mean that only particular people can do it. It's that I feel like it's a matter of cultural respect kind of thing. All right, how we do this? So each movement template in the subsequent objects needs to have its target set to the corresponding one. So we calculate target, we get the target object, we put them in new targets, a new target. So we go in and we say the first mob body's movement target, target object in target direction are now stored in target. Then okay, previously what we were doing is first we iterate over each subsequent movement template and we mimic it into them. This is still where we should start. This is the first movement object. We are gonna start here. This may not work yet, but okay. There is no value of velocity. So we need to go into mob body and create one. Okay, then we toggle comment. Move. Position plus equals body to move velocity. body to move should be a mob body. Yeah. Okay, well, they're having problems. Those circulate nanofluid, Connor. Okay, we need to fix this. Mob spawner. Oh, well, that's not going to help. Facing is not being handled properly. The vector 2s won't do that. We're going to need to recreate that avoidance movement next. All right, Connor. Okay. Now we need a movement template for that. It's not targeting, it's moving. It's avoid monsters. To this, and we were... Doesn't care about calculate target. It only cares about movement. Take this whole mess and we're going to pop it in here for now. Put it right here. I don't know why it jumped back up, but hey, whatever. Let's... I mean, what kind of features did you have to include in the website? Hello, Sherbet. Hello. Little chirp, and he jumps up to get pet behind my head. So that's our get avoiding vector. We don't need self-destruct. We don't need time since process. Body to move. Dot raycasts. We don't have 2-player. We only care about the target. Position body to move dot position dot direction 2 local target dot target object position speed is equal to body to move dot speed. Each raycast its target position. If it's colliding, we get the normal. We reverse it if it's 0. I have, but I can always drink a little bit more. I'm doing enough talking that it dries the throat. With the normal. Then we adjust, we adjust the adjustment. Getting the adjustment. And we return adjustment. Dot normalized. When we move, it is body to move dot get avoiding to avoiding vector. Yeah. Remove process just to be sure. Then we go into our blob spawner and we go into our movement templates here. Not going to use speed. It's going to use the speed of the movement template. That just to clean it up a little bit. Just comment this whole mess actually. Okay, yeah, we're just getting the direction here. We do need to have our speed calculated into it. So move avoid monsters. Okay, let's actually properly put that in there. So we need our speed in move avoid monsters. Our second one is home to target. This will change the direction, but move home to target. Okay, we could just put 1 here. We could put our 96 here. No. Oh. Move avoid monster. Well, okay, they're moving one at a time. We can see that they're locking onto us. Oh, okay, okay. We're targeting the player, and we're saying move towards the player, but we also want to avoid the monsters. Okay, how do we do? Avoid monsters is a weird one as far as how it moves. We're going to try to move towards the target, and we're going to towards our, our wherever our target is. So this does get us a target direction. Times speed times delta. So then we say move avoid monsters. Okay, let's say we have no adjustment. All right. Target direction. Oh. Well, this isn't what I wanted it to do at all. Neum. I mean, it's neat looking, but it's not right. Very neat looking. Look at him go. Okay, okay. Um, Still wrong. Oh, it's going to accelerate. No, it should be okay. We zero out its velocity each time. Move. It's just... Oh, okay. That's because we're updating constantly. Move void monster. Times speed. Times delta. We were moving a full second's worth of space every frame. Which is going to break every little thing. Welcome back, Copper. Boop. Boop. Okay. Yeah. Wait, monster is going to... needs to project the target times speed times delta. S delta. We are getting the spawners working again. Oh, they're overlapping too much. If we project out, it will use how far the creature could move in a full second. Not there. That is correct. It is... When we're getting the vector, if we do delta, then they don't overlap sufficiently. If we look at mob bodies, mob bodies have their collision shape. As, you know, body. Shape dot not use that. Times 2. How much will they move in 2 times the slice that they've got? Still itty bitty. But better. We're estimating how far we need to extend the speed vector here. So this is how far they can move in a full second, which is, I think, ultimately too fast, or too far for it to be projecting these out. It's not the worst case scenario. But not ideal either. What about if they... half a second? That's still really far. It's not bad because by coincidence, the corner, the furthest corner of the box is kind of where we'd want to be. But we want it tighter than that. We want it tighter than that. Like, it's too far on the top and bottom, but... Because I wonder if instead of speed, we can have it extend a little past the collision zone. But I wonder if that's going to be too much effort for value. Because this doesn't seem too bad, ultimately. I think that's okay. Body. We'll need a factory for the mob bodies. We'll need a factory for movements. But no blob body. We do process. Body's null. Okay. Body is never not null. Because there is no body object. Okay. Mr. Blob body. Body is null. Body. There we go. It should work. Come on. There we go. Now they turn to face properly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we updated the spawner to handle the new mob body logic. They are jiggling a bit more than I'd like. How about instead of velocity, use if movement is not equal null, movement target object should already have a target, but if it has a movement, we should have a target object. So not oh, okay. Variable target position as a vector 2 equal to position. Direction. Why you do this? Direction to target as a vector 2 is equal to body to move, body dot position direction 2 target position. If direction to target so annoying when it does that. It tries to be helpful with params, but it's clumsy about it, so it tends to break down. Okay, we don't want their facing jiggling back and forth. We always want them looking at their target. So in this case, they're always looking towards the player instead of oscillating when they start running into stuff. Very nice. So ideally what we'd have is that the arrows would only stick out of the collision zone very carefully. Like just a little bit, so that their collision zones could overlap a bit. Or would get right adjacent. We could have an overlapping actual collision shape, but that ruins the point. Well, 100% ruins the point, but... Like I said, we can always adjust this later. I think we're good enough under this model. Faster they move, the further they deviate from each other. So if we go into our blob spawner, and we say they, instead of moving at a speed of 96, they move at a speed of 300. This will mean they get right on top of us immediately. But you can see that their little bounce angles are much further. We might be able to change that a little bit by saying, like, hey, I can move closer than this. What we don't want is that they're able to move in really quick. Now, alternately, we can go in and say everything's a circle. Like, period. All colliding objects are circles. Now I want to do that. That simplifies things quite a bit. So if we go into the mob body scene, we go into the body, we give it a shape. It is a circle. It doesn't need dimensions. We'll change that in the actual mob body. We go into the blob. We look at that. We reset it. It's a circle now. Go into the 2D editor. And we look at our radius and we slide it around. So... Clearly, the algorithm knows what you want. Okay, its radius should be about 72. Let me change this number, please. Fine. 72, what would it be? This is definitely different. It's like this is a locked value. It's like it doesn't want me to mess with it. There we go. Okay. It's... wouldn't be 72, it'd be like 36, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's about right. Then we can go into our move avoid monsters. And this is where it gets potentially weird. So instead of the raycast target position having anything to do with speed, it now has to do with the radius. Times body to move dot body dot shape dot radius. The arrows are now right on the radius. Look at them go. Yeah, and I think overall this looks better. Well, not the fact that they're vibrating. I wouldn't mind that being a little different. But we can probably solve that, again, as optimization. This is not far off from what we see in Vampire Survivors anyway. The things tend to jiggle. We can contract this a little bit, but now that we know, now that we assert everything's a circle, then we have a lot more control. Hey there, Alistair. It does ring a bell. I recall somebody with that FNAF name. Okay, let's look at our... Uh-oh. What be Aaron? Movement templates relative to collision test, collision shape. Code not found in ready. Where? Movement GD5. This is where we need the factory. It's at the time that that's happening, its child nodes still don't exist. Okay, go back in, we look at our debugger. Look at our errors, we're okay. We look at our was it? Well, all that said, let's see. It's not object count that I wanted. Should be monitors, right? If objects start climbing, this will climb. We have no way of removing them. So this doesn't tell us if we've solved our memory leak yet. But we can try. We can try and test that. If we go into the blob body and we have a our self-destruct is a float to 0. I go into process. Self-destruct plus equals delta. If self-destruct is greater than or equal to 10 seconds, we free. Rings a bell, but not sure, Gavin. Yeah, they should pop after 10 seconds. About, yeah, there they go. Okay, let's start looking at our monitors. Object count. Okay. We need one more thing. Spawner. Temporary testing code. If global nodes. Which one was it? That's somewhere. It's in the game code. UD. Let's put a global node as a temporary thing. As an int is equal to 0. Then in the game logic, nodes dot mob count is equal to so Then we go back into our spawner if global nodes.mob count is less than 50. Okay, it's limiting itself to 10. That's what we want. We go to our debugger and our monitors. We have a leak yet. We still have a leak. So we're going to go to our remote. We go to our core, our game. Yeah, our orphan nodes is climbing steadily. But we are freeing things. We're freeing things properly. Okay. Gonna be right back. We're gonna go a little bit longer yet. Might run a bit over, but I've got to be right back. Settling back in here, folks. Okay. So these numbers are going up. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Is there a way for us to find out what the numbers are? That's what we're busy with. What are they? I recall that you were in here, Mangle. Like, you said that you previously had the name, and I remember somebody with that, but that's about it. My memory is spotty unless a person is through here very frequently. And even then, they have to be sticking around. Same scenario, Gavin, like I said. The name rings a bell. That's the spawner rotating around. What else might we be creating? Hey there, Mud. We still have a memory leak. Means the thing that I thought was the thing is not the thing, which is unfortunate, because if it was the thing, we would have solved it. I think. Position modifiers? Maybe? Else could they be? Position modifiers are another one that's just sort of hanging out. But we shouldn't be destroying those. Those only live in the spawner. Let's do this. This should taper off. What could we be missing? Because if there are orphan nodes, I would expect that they show up somewhere in... Well, I guess they wouldn't show up because they're orphaned. Else. The network would be stack trace. That might be the next thing we have to do. is research how to identify and get rid identify orphaned nodes. We have something that's being okay, let's not have them self-destruct then. Go into our spawner. No, we need to go into the blobs. And we will remove that. We will go back out to the code and we will say pass. Stop, pass, run. Be on the bed. All right, what are we talking about here, Mangle? Gavin, there's some borderline questionable chatter happening. Like, is there a question? And tread carefully, Gavin. Nothing that could be construed as using an orientation or identity as a pejorative. Nanotypes are genderless. And that's about as far as I want you to take that line of inquiry or conversation. Okay, we still have orphan nodes, but it's capped. We have 700, and we have 50 creatures. So 14. Yeah, there's 14 orphaned nodes per. So let's double check that. We're going to increase the spawner limit by 1. So it should be 714. I'm able to see chat, folks. If you have a question or a statement, go ahead and fire away. No. Yes. Okay. Every object has 14 orphaned nodes. All right. Something in the creation of the mob body results in 14. Then ask the question. Could the orphaned objects be? If 8 there. I do not mangle. Seems to be Kitty Cat seems to be doing okay. Let me see if I can figure out which one it is. That one is Sherbet. Okay. Had to look closer. It helps that he exposed his shoulders, which is there's a white swatch across his shoulders and neck, then that's Sherbet. What are the orphaned objects? Each blob gets that. We go into the spawner. Where could that be? If we never mess with their movement. Never add movement templates to it. So let's try that. Okay, so no movement templates. Doesn't matter how many there are. If let's actually get the actual error before I try to make an adjustment. Okay, there's no target object. Doesn't hurt to have a safety net there. Okay, they have no positioning logic anymore. So this is, we have removed. Okay, If we remove movement templates, that accounts for 11 11 orphaned nodes. Okay. Would the remainder be? What are their names? Where would the other 3 be? Don't have any position modifiers on these. I have 5 cats, Mingle. Hmm. If all of my cats had been immortal, one, I would be completely overwhelmed, and I would have 10 of them. I think. Let me math this out. Yes. No. I think 9 actually. Me. Eight. No, that's 9. No, 9. Anyway, math. Ember's being snuggly. The microphone filters work really well, so you sadly cannot hear her purring away right next to the microphone. There's a little blip on the microphone, but I think that might have been her. No, it wasn't her touching it. All right. Always a target. Is target a node? Does extend node. Need to? Stop that. And if we go into a little bit longer, we can go a little bit. Quit that, Ember. You've already shredded one side of the chair. Yeah, but you're not paying sufficient attention to me. My claws are not sharp enough. I didn't see... Let me look up there. But no, I have no interest in playing Roblox. Okay, okay. Okay, we're getting there. Sometime after it's done, Mangle, we're still in a state where the game is far from complete. Like, we're trying to figure out what we're breaking here. Okay, let's do one more test here. Just one more. I can quit anytime I want. Okay, count is going up. Get our monitors. Okay. Now, if we look at the movement templates for the blob, 1, 2, 3 movement templates. Hello there, Rod. And I appreciate it, Mangle. If you don't add the movement templates, what happens? We're doing some debugging and refactoring in code right now, so not necessarily the most exciting thing going on. Okay, just instantiating the movement templates is adding them. just instantiating them is 4. Okay, so then there's something in the movement template that is causing some lingering elements. The templates extend node. They don't need to, do they? Just calm down. Don't be rude, folks. There's no need to, hassle each other. Okay, movement templates have their local target. And they generate local targets, but local targets aren't nodes anymore. What else could we be creating that's causing this problem? Templates are all nodes by themselves. We're only generating 3 of them. But is that really the case? Free, pause, remote, game, collision test. 3 entities, each one. There's movement templates, but it's orphaned. Okay. The movement still exists. We can still get it, but it's not parented properly. That's why they're orphaned. That's why it's creating 4. Because movement templates, the parent node, is being created. But it's not attached. Okay, how can we do that? How can we make this work? Movement templates are instantiated. The movement object is not, though. Are we getting that? We look at our blob spawner. It is a template. It is a resource object. And it has a blob reference, which is the mob to spawn. Mob to spawn is a mob template, which is a resource, which contains a packed scene. What if globals can't have something exported, but I think if the movement object was treated as a packed scene, then we might be able to get around this. Because it already extends a node. They don't really need to be movement objects, but there we are. Well, we'll have to think on this further. We will pick this up next time. So we've made some progress. We've got the spawners cut over, but we don't have our memory leak resolved. And that's gonna be an issue. Well, it's not gonna be like a a stopping issue. It's going to take us a little bit of time because we need to make sure that we have a proper grasp on how we're instantiating objects in this thing. Anything that is a node that comes into existence needs to be part of the structure. So maybe let me just eyeball something real quick here. And we'll have to look at that. We need to figure out how we're going to properly create entities that exist in the world like nodes, such that we can properly deconstruct them. We can properly put them in resources, and go from there. Worst case scenario, we need to create a series of like dictionaries and whatnot, catalog objects, where we have all this stuff predefined and we can create them from that and say, give me a movement object, and it will instantiate and spit one out. But that will be for next time. I think we're closing in on an understanding of that. Okay. Next stream is going to be on Friday. Don't know what the game in the morning will be, or at noon. But we will, of course, in the evening have more coding. We'll continue with this. If you haven't already and you like what you saw, then remember to like, follow, subscribe, that sort of thing. That will make sure that you see more streams like this in the future. In the interim, though, I hope everybody has a good rest of their day.